Hey everybody, how you doing? Hope you're well. I've got another in what is adding up to be, I can't put it any other way than a murderer's row of examples of how, in particular, Bank of America has used the PPP loan and EIDL economic disaster loan program to make money off the backs of American citizens like you and me. What follows is an email that I originally received on June 19th, and in my pile just discovered it, called and followed up. This is another horror story, folks, that I'm reading to you on the air. Last name redacted out of discussion and decision by both the person and Zenny62 Media, of which I'm CEO. But this is absolutely horrifying, and Congress needs to act on this right now. Okay, right now. I'm going to read you the story right now as I share this screen with you. There is the story itself before you, and it basically goes like this. As I read it to you, excuse me, and it goes. Long story short, my small business was overfunded by Bank of America's forgivable, quote unquote, PPP loan program. I have a music/entertainment company specializing in weddings. I was going to get an EIDL loan, and what I'll do right now is I'll put this so you can look at me reading it to you, okay? I was going to get, because the contents of it are actually in the post, but I'll continue. I was going to get an EIDL, that is economic injury disaster loan, but Bank of America kept sending emails about their forgivable loans, and with the help of a banker, I filled out their application and was given $38,730 based on the contractor labor of 2019. I added them to our payroll, 12 people, and used the PPP money to pay the employees for work they would have had if weddings hadn't canceled, and other forgivable expenses such as office, rent, utilities, and so on were applied. I spent it between May 1st, 2020 and October 16th, 2020, the forgivable period. March 17th, 2021, Bank of America told me, she writes, I could apply for get this, $2,436 in forgiveness, putting me on the hook for $36,000 over just 2 years. That's right. I escalated the call, she writes, and no one called me. I shared my story on CBS News, and one of their chief operating officers of Bank of America, of course, contacted me and said they'd absorb the cost of my forgivable expenses. They took a week to provide me a secure link to attach my documentation, then said they wouldn't absorb any of the error, and they give me 5 years to pay it back. I hired an attorney to write a demand letter showing they were in violation of the False Claims Act. Bank of America rejected the letter. My attorney counteroffered a 50-50 split, and they still rejected it. I spoke to the vice president of Wintrust Bank and a manager at BMO Harris, responsible for forgiveness applications, and they both said, get this, folks, that Bank of America cannot streamline the forgiveness determinant to determine amount of forgiveness before submitting it to the Small Business Administration. Did you hear that? I use the because they do that with me. I use the PPP loan, she writes, or to keep my business afloat by bringing contractors onto payroll to feed their families, and this is just killing me. I got a part-time job at a car dealership in June of 2020. The owner of the dealership got a $2 million PPP loan, and it was all forgiven. He took it out because, quote, he could, unquote. How can a business that did not shut down get a PPP loan and get it forgiven and a legitimate small business hit hard by the pandemic is on the hook for an insane amount of money. That's that story. And it's not the first one. Again, with me and Zenny 62 Media, my Delaware C Corp, Bank of America did the same thing back in March of, May of April leading up to May of 2020, basically saying, hey, sign up for the EIDL, Economic Injury Disaster Loan. All right. So I do that, and I've chronicled this many times here at Oakland News Now. The computer crashes, reapply again, and then as I'm waiting for that application, the PPP loan comes up. They say apply for this. Then they ask you if you applied for an EIDL loan of $10,000, and they ask you to put that amount in the space provided. Now get this, I'm still waiting for the SBA to get back to me about the EIDL loan. I have no reason to believe I'm going to be rejected. It's the damn pandemic. They're telling everybody to sign up for a $10,000 loan. It's $10,000, right? That's what they're telling. So next thing I realize, the EIDL is combined, as they said that they would do, with the $13,750 PPP loan. Okay, boom. See, I thought this is the middle of the pandemic. They were anxious to keep companies going. I had 3 clients that I was looking at losing and eventually did because of the pandemic. We're down to 1. And I'm not the only one going through this. And yet Bank of America, whose president Brian Moynihan said in August of last year they were losing money on the PPP loan program, and who gave a record amount of money to the Donald Trump for president re-election campaign, true, check it out for yourself, has now set it up, it appears, to make sure that they make money off you, and the SBA is helping them by saying, hey, look, give your forgiveness application to the lender. Okay. In other words, they want me to fill out what Bank of America has pre-filled and just basically give it a good rubber stamp and send it in. And then they can say, well, you filled out this, you agreed to this, because that's what they are going to do. And the SBA is helping them do it. This is wrong. Okay. Congress, I called on Barbara Lee. I actually have called Barbara directly and said, Congresswoman, you need to run a point for us. This is a scandal. I want to hear from everyone going through this problem. Toot sweet, pronto, as soon as you can, send me your stories and I'll tell it. Now get this though. I track every story. So don't even think you can fake this one, because it's harmful to the 100% of people who've contacted me thus far with very real, painful, tearfully sad, crying stories about their situations and their businesses. Okay. Many who are relying on me to tell their stories for them without using their name because they're afraid to get their name out there, but they need help. Let me show you how bad this is so you can get an idea of what's going on. I was pointed to this. It is a kind of a Reddit group. All right. And this Reddit group apparently is directed, yeah, you guessed it, at Bank of America. Why? For the same problem. Look at this. Yeah, I'd rather be talking about the NFL, but this is really important. All right. This is about your money and mine too. This is called the Bank of America PPP overfund scheme. Quote, if you've been overfunded, read here. And guess what? It turns a number of people have been overfunded because of the way BMO handled it. I've written this and I've written it before, and I want you to emphasize what I'm telling you. Bank of America is trying to get us, you and me, to pay for their errors and how they handled the PPP loan program. They should go to the government and tell Congress, since Congress made the decision to give them the doggone program anyway during the Trump administration, right? So anyway, it shouldn't be our fault in the middle of a pandemic. in the middle of an emergency, which is a financial and economic emergency, they're doing this to America? What are they trying to do? Make sure that people vote Republican again because they're pissed off that Donald Trump lost? Sounds like it. Ooh, okay. But I digress. This is what I'm talking about over at Reddit. Let me read this to you. All right. Bank of America PPP overfund scheme. If you've been overfunded, read here. Make this go viral. That's what it reads. Make this go viral. Okay. And I'm deliberately zooming in so you can get a better view of it. Okay. And there's a link to it as well. So it starts. Bank of America and probably other banks have adopted a scheme which allows them to knowingly overfund small business owners for PPP loans, only to lock you in to a loan with an access that can't be forgiven. The SBA will not allow excess loan amounts, even if it's the lender's fault, even if PPP funds were properly used, to be forgiven. All PPP loans are guaranteed by the government, which means it's a win-win for Bank of America. If you pay, great. If not, the loan is defaulted, the government pays Bank of America, and they will come after you for payment. If you find yourself in this predicament and you gave information to the B of A to process your loan, which they knew you didn't meet the requirements at origination but approved the loan anyway, here is what we should do. Defund, this is what this calls for. It says defund Bank of America. I'm not for defunding. I'm reading it though. It says, first, when talking to your rep, mention the word predatory lending and ask them for a date of determination when they figured out you were overfunded. You will not receive a date, but what the rep would say is, well, we didn't want people to lose their business, so instead of going back and forth over further documentation, we approved a lot of the loans. This is fraud on B of A's behalf. And if you have a business and paid any employees using a 1099 and articulated that during origination, you were not supposed to be approved. But B of A did it anyway, knowing you would not be eligible for forgiveness. Guess what, folks? 1099s have become the heartblood of our economy because there's so many people working as contractors. And yet the SBA actually changed these rules to really discourage a company from hiring 1099s. They shouldn't have done that. That they then turned around and said, okay, well, anyone who is doing a 1099 can do it themselves. But what they have done is they have subjected people who in many cases are afraid to deal with the paperwork to dealing with it. And I think knowingly we're going to get caught up in the rigmarole and discouraged from filing a forgiveness. The American government is looking like it is trying to hurt its own people financially, in particular, those who have less to either fight the issue or to sustain the damage financially. Okay? This is a big scandal, folks. I can see, I never thought I'd say this, but the behavior and craziness out there that's driving some people to maybe do too many drugs or anything else, is caused by financial pressures like this one. That's not the way it should be. And the American government has to be held feet to the fire, not so much to explain why it's doing it, but to stop. Stop, okay? Stop treating its own people. Stop treating its own people this way. That's us. That's you and me, okay? And I have a C Corp. I'm better able to sustain this than other people. The person that I heard from today out of Illinois lost her business and is working part-time and she's so emotional about it. It's hard for her to talk after a point. She's not the only one. I've talked to people from Washington, D.C., from San Diego, California, and I'm going to talk to a lot more people. Some of them will wind up coming on the air to tell their stories themselves. These are real people, folks. This is no joke. This is a big, gigantic problem. And it all focuses on Bank of America. And what Bank of America should do is, hey, like the rest of us, go to the government. And in their case, since they were given the PPP loan program, say, you know what? We need X amount of dollars to write this. Whatever that comes, whatever billion with a B number that comes to, and I'm pretty sure it will, the government needs to pay Bank of America so that Bank of America can basically just get off of our backs. So what? The Bank of America makes the money. Great. The bottom line is you, the government, trusted them to administer the program, and then you underfunded the program. That's why I'm saying I'm not for the whole defund B of A thing, because it's not going to help any one of us if a bank that large is defunded. Just correct the dang thing, so we can move on with our lives rather than, someone trying to get back at the other person. I'm not for that. I'm for straightening this out. That's what I'm for. So you have a problem with Bank of America in this situation. You bring your Congress, tell your congressperson about it. Have your congressperson come on my show too, and also send me your problem, Zenny60, or your friend's problem. Somebody, real friends, no fakes. Zenny62.com. Okay, I check. There's the email that you use, that others have used to send me their stories, their plight, so I can tell it, continue to make noise about this, so that Congress can fix this on behalf of America, and that includes Bank of America. I'm not saying defund. I'm just saying fund all of us. In fact, I'm not for defunding anybody, and I'm talking about funding properly. If you trust the private sector to administer a program, pay them. Pay them. Pay them so they can do it right. Don't nickel and dime them, because you know what? You nickel and dime them, they wind up trying to nickel and dime us. That's what's going on. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnow.com. That ends this broadcast.